Well, thank you, Janine and Northern Suburbs friends for inviting me here today. And I too would like to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional owners of this unceded land on which we meet. Last time that I was speaking... No, I should know that, shouldn't I? Yeah. Last time I was speaking at your branch, the subject was the importance of a well-funded, fearless and independent public broadcaster and its place as a pillar of democracy. This was at a time when funding cuts and threats to the ABC's very existence were dire. Fortunately, things have improved, but not enough. And I've come to the conclusion that there'll always be a need to fight for our public broadcaster. So there's a lovely symmetry about today's meeting where we'll hear fresh ideas on these same issues from our wonderful interns who are already engaging in activities to support the ABC. And it's so heartening to see these younger people coming through to join our older cohort and in time to take over the baton. These internships are an excellent initiative, not only for the interns, but there's a lot we can learn from the students too. I congratulate you sincerely, Janine, and indeed all of you at Northern Suburbs branch for implementing the program. And I'd also like to thank, and I think welcome, if she's here, the students lecturer at Macquarie University, Dr. Catherine Fargo, who's facilitated the internships from an academic, from the academic side. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing from the interns, but first I'd like to welcome a very special guest, Nicolette Buller, our independent federal member for Bradfield. Nicolette is no stranger to ABC Friends Northern Suburbs. In fact, as I recall, you were at the last meeting I attended, and you've no doubt been to others. As you know, Nicolette has become a prominent political voice supporting the ABC and public broadcasting in Canberra. So please welcome Nicolette Buller. Are you going to say a few words for us, Nicolette?
Thank you. I got very taken by the baton being passed. I thought my job was done. Thank you for having me here, and thank you sincerely for the great work of the committee. Janine's someone, as you probably know, is very hard to say no to. It's the kind of person you want agitating and keeping alive the possibility of better. And I've just met Corin for the first time, and being someone whose current role started at a bar in Turramurra where disgruntled citizens decided they want better representation in their parliament, Voices of Bradfield, it's quite clear to me and quite obvious that, of course, Friends of the ABC, Northern Suburbs started. Northern Suburbs or the whole thing? The whole thing. Oh, it started in your kitchen or your lounge room over tea.
Yeah, it was a conversation between four of us.
That's just wonderful. And it just goes to show that, you know, leadership's not about being the boss. Leadership is really about being courageous and standing up and caring and demanding better and making it happen. And so I'm in a room with people who clearly see the need for a public broadcaster that does absolutely underpin the vibrancy and the integrity of our democracy and the future, frankly, of things like social cohesion, of inclusion, of our place in the region. So yes, you have an ally in me, and I'm very grateful and want to pay respects to you all for turning up week after, or month after month, year after year, and decade after decade to continue to advocate for what is, I think so many Australians don't realise, possibly, alongside the AEC, one of our most treasured and valued institutions that deserves all the support we can get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette, and I must say your support for the ABC and for ABC Friends is a very... Sorry, I've got to put it down. I'll go again. Thanks very much, Nicolette, and I wanted to say that your support for ABC Friends and for the ABC is a very welcome change to your predecessor. Before I move on to the interns, I did want to just emphasise how important it is to have people like you, Nicolette, in the Parliament. We all know that the right-wing media, the think tanks, the political parties haven't lost their appetite for trashing the ABC, and we need to be keenly aware that the movement to neuter the ABC has not abated. Just recently, in October, the Queensland State Council of the LNP passed what I call the notorious Resolution 22. This has not got a lot of publicity, if any. I haven't heard of it anywhere. What it says is, and I'm going to quote it, that the State Council of the LNP calls upon the Federal Coalition to sell the ABC and the SBS and establish a new media corporation to provide media services in regional and outback Australia only, where private sector media corporations cannot operate profitably. This is October. No mention of how this would be achieved, and on many levels it's absurd. Where they get the news from, I don't know. But it comes on top of the Liberal Party's similar national resolution of a few years ago, which still stands, and who can forget the failed Fletcher Bill, which could be resurrected at any time and was going to the same kind of rule-only conclusion. So we need to make no mistake, there's no safeguard for the ABC, and things could get worse when there's eventually a change of government, and of course one day there will be. So thank you, Nicolette. We really appreciate having you, and particularly some of the other independents supporting the ABC. Please actually join me in thanking Nicolette again. Okay, now to the main event of today's proceedings and our very special interns. Please welcome collectively Azura, Arwa, Caleb and Darcy. Azura Cox will speak first. After completing her degree, Azura aims to write for TV and film. She's been studying the impact of film on the global village. That's the concept that the world, seeing the world as a single community linked by telecommunications. Azura already has some experience in the industry, and today she's going to talk about the need for a well-funded ABC in order to provide jobs for emerging media professionals such as herself. And as you know, at the moment, sufficient funding simply isn't there. So please welcome Azura Cox.
I am medium size, so I'm going to put this at the medium length. So, as Helen said, I am a media student, and I'm very interested in media theory and how it pertains to public versus private media. As we all know, public media is able to report on issues in a way that is not controlled by commercial interests, which I find very important. And as it is important, Janine asked me to try and find a way to fund the ABC, and me being Gen Z, of course, I was like, TikTok, obviously, TikTok, somehow, we gotta do TikTok. And a key element of creating TikToks is identifying your target audience. My first idea was to create a vertical video specifically for Jerome Lexal, who's like our member at Macquarie, as he's already quite active on TikTok. It's actually a very common thing to create videos for specific members, as Nicolette knows. Nicolette creates content that is specifically responding to different political takes. I think recently I saw one where she was responding to something about the cost of living crisis from, was that it? Yeah. And I thought it was really good because one of the best parts of TikTok is being able to respond to each viewpoint. So, although letters are a great way to reach representatives, TikTok allows for that instant interaction between audience and users, and essentially by creating a video that pleads our case to one specific person, it's likely that they will respond with their own video. And my idea was to create a vertical video about the fear of leaving university, because many of my peers at Macquarie share a sense of worries, which seems like a light word actually, more like dread, that we will not be able to make a living off of this with the current media landscape and the current job market. And I thought by leading with the concerns of a community, I would then pose the solution, which is to fund the ABC so that they will have more resources to hire young people. Because the film community at Macquarie University is a passionate and talented group of young people with important stories to tell. Another vertical video idea was to explain the history of ABC Friends. This was inspired by an audio interview with Tess Howe that I conducted. I'll be honest, when I first came to ABC Friends, I've struggled to understand the motivation that people had behind the cause. But I thought that the story of its founding really inspired me, and Dr. Hell explained the importance of public media to create a healthy democracy to me that I thought was just really motivating, and I think that I would like to be able to share that energy behind it. So I have a quick clip, an audio clip. It's not going to work? Okay. I think I have it here. I'm going to try my best to put it through the speaker. Okay. And if not, I'll just summarize. Okay, I'm going to summarize. Basically, Tess Howe suggests that one of the foundations of democracy is public media because it creates a healthy understanding of ourselves without thinking about commercial interests. She talks about the founding being very influenced by the Second World War, that public media is able to kind of take away how we understand ourselves as like a business, I guess, which is, I thought was just really cool. And so I'm going to try and upload the audio interview that I've done with her and really try and inspire people my age to be able to communicate more with the ABC and create a more wide understanding of ABC Friends. So yes, that is my plan. I hope that you enjoyed my speech.
Thank you, Azura. It's wonderful to hear your understanding of the importance of public broadcasting, and I share your concerns about young people being able to find jobs. Cadetships and producer intern programs of the past have been very much diminished, if not removed entirely. And that's perhaps something that we at ABC Friends, and I am an ABC Friend member, we at ABC Friends might be able to campaign for to support the younger people. So thank you again. Now, our next speaker is Arwa Ahmad. Arwa is determined to become a journalist, and having already secured an interview with ABC Managing Director Hugh Marks, I'd say she has what it takes to succeed. She's done many other interviews, written articles, and achieved strong academic results. Arwa has considerable experience in digital content creation and I believe social media, and today she's going to talk to us about this in the context of connecting with diverse audiences in the media. So please welcome Arwa Ahmad.
Hi everyone. Before I begin, does anyone have Instagram or know what Instagram is? Okay, that's great. Does anybody have Facebook? So Instagram is essentially like Facebook. It allows you to use the platform to share photos, but it's become so much more than that. It's essentially evolved. And it's important that we use social media apps like Instagram to promote ABC Friends, because you can make visual content and graphics. And I've had a cheeky little peek at the ABC Friends Instagram as a whole. And what they've done is they've created posters, but they're digital posters, and they're using that to push through the algorithm and try and gain wider audiences. So this is important because visual content is key. People remember 80% of what they see compared to 20% of what they read and 10% of what they hear. And Instagram's head, Adam Mazzari, has repeatedly emphasized that sharing posts or sending it through to other people make the post more engaged. And because Instagram is no longer just a social media app, it's become a major communication and discovery platform. And I believe we can use that to push through the ABC Friends agenda. It has higher engagement than other apps, and compared to other platforms, it's ideal for advocacy and storytelling, which is something that ABC Friends really pushes for. And with the ABC Friends mission of public media pushing through Australian stories, I believe that Instagram fits perfectly. I would like to speak on how Instagram has changed, because it started off as just sharing what you've had for dinner and how you are with your friends, but it's evolved into prioritizing engagement and relevance rather than aesthetics. It does help if the post is pleasing to the eye, but discovery happens via feed, explore, and search, not just your profile grid. Content can last for weeks and months, not just 24 hours, and posts, stories, and reels matter. With the Instagram algorithm, it rewards, shares, comments, and it watches how much and how long someone's watched a reel or a video. The Instagram SEO is important, which means that captions, words, hashtags, everything matters. It all goes down through the algorithm and it pushes your post. They can even appear on Google searches, and because of consistency and interaction, it builds your follower count. This is all important because this is how we're going to get wider audiences. This is how we're going to gain more followers and more members of ABC Friends. And metrics really, really matter. Your shares are linked directly through how much it reaches and reaches other audiences. And whether you save a post really matters because it pushes your post to the algorithm, meaning that other people that don't follow ABC Friends can even see it. I would also like to talk about a practical strategy. So I was thinking, I've already created an Instagram account for the Roseville community for ABC Friends, and I was planning on creating a community hub, not just announcements, but just a hub where we can get multiple alerts of what's going on, of the meetings, not just emails. And it would showcase people like the speakers, like ourselves, presenters, supporters, volunteers, members, everyone. And I already have a list of content that I would like to post and create, explainer posts, media literacy information, and especially why the ABC matters. We need people to understand why it matters. We can promote the events. We can even, I've seen that the ABC Friends Instagram as a whole has promoted quotes that specific members have said. We can use that to push through our agenda. And the key takeaway is Instagram is not just about trends or hacks, it's about authentic storytelling. It's how we're going to gain engagement and visibility, and it's so important that we use this to amplify our values, build community, and reach new supporters. And I would like to end off by saying that Instagram is not just a tool, it's purpose. There's purpose to it, and I think that we can genuinely use it to gain more members. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Wow. That was just a brilliant explanation of an area that I've been dodging, and I think a lot of us probably do. I have to say you've actually convinced me that I now need to learn a lot more about Instagram and other new media and to use it, how to use it. And you're right, it's a fantastic way to spread the ABC story going forward when there will continue to be those threats. So, in fact, a lot of ABC content is actually on a lot of these sites, but often it's not identifiable as ABC sourced. So, it's so good to have you engaged with this issue, Arwa, and very glad that you're engaged with ABC Friends. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on now. Now we're going to turn to the arts. Caleb Del Rosario is a professional dancer who wants to forge a career promoting dance and inspiring others. He's currently completing his communications degree, and until this internship, didn't know nearly as much about the ABC and its importance to the arts as he now does. I think it's fair to say that Caleb has become a convert to the ABC. And primarily he's interested in accessing ABC content through its non-broadcast outlets, such as we just heard from Arwa. A main aim is to promote the ABC to other young Australians, many of whom are unaware of all that the national broadcaster has to offer. So please welcome Caleb Del Rosario. I've got that right? Yeah.
Test. Hi everyone. Good morning to everyone. A little bit about me, because I love to talk about myself. So hi, I'm Caleb. I'm a student at Macquarie University. I am a professional dancer. I practice mainly street, folk, and experimental styles of movement with my company, The Palette Sessions, who is now in collaboration with the Sydney Opera House, where we pretty much just workshop and facilitate and produce different shows for movement artists and experimental folks. So yeah, if you're ever interested, hit me up, let me know if you want to boogie or dance or groove a bit. But before my time here at the ABC Friends, I had little to prior knowledge about the ABC, and I believe that the constant scrolling I do as a young person in Generation Z, I was able to stumble upon things on the platform TikTok. We've heard this word thrown around a couple of times now, but I want to talk to you about the importance and the impact of such social media platforms and short-form content, and how that can be engaging and an easy way to market for younger audiences who don't have such a high level of attention span. So a little bit about TikTok, if we don't know what it is. It's basically a phone app where people share and sort and promote entertaining videos with quick clips, jokes, dances, tips, and other everyday moments, just a basically modern version of home videos for everyone to just scroll and stumble upon. That's how I stumbled upon learning more about the ABC myself, where I think my phone was listening to me and hearing the algorithm speak. It sent me ABC TikToks in short form content where I was able to watch and, peruse the online content through short form contents of 7-second clips, of 10-second clips that grabbed my attention and kept me wanting more. So I want to talk about the importance of that and how that can engage and bring in younger audiences so we can help fund for more of the ABC. So basically, I feel like one big moment is that they grab your attention quickly. Short videos hook viewers in for the first few seconds, which is perfect for busy people and with short attention spans, like I've said, such as Generation Z. They reach huge audiences. I feel like the TikTok algorithm, it's not about who you follow, how many followers you have. It's not about the number. It's about the content itself. So if the content is important, it is provided through the social media algorithm to reach these audiences, these younger audiences. Another reason, they feel really authentic. You can feel the heart and the warmth coming from this video itself, because it's such a low form quality of content that can be created through the simple use of just your phone, which I think is really important to provide to younger audiences, that it can be done by yourself as well. We can make a difference in our own homes with our own phones, and that we can share these stories and easily provide this understanding of what the social media can bring to us and to the wider audience. Another big one, they follow trends. Trends are so important these days on social media, as that's the thing that really gets people talking, gets people sharing, gets people understanding on the same basis of what this trend or this news is trying to say to us. So if we're able to create these type of videos with these trends in mind, they're able to be shared a bit more and more easily accessible to everyone, especially the younger audiences. Another one, they turn viewers into fans fast. That's an example of myself, where I had no or little to prior knowledge of this previously, but through my scrolling online, I was able to become a fan, converted, as y'all say. So short form contents build relationships quickly. They let you show personality, humor, passion, or expertise in bite-sized moments. Over time, viewers start to feel like they had known you. The emotional connection built through is repeated, the quick interactions, and it's powerful. It turns casual viewers into supporters, fans, or even advocates. I made a mock one. Are we able to play it, Peter? Period.
So have you heard of the ABC Friends before? No, I haven't. No, so ABC Friends is a volunteer group that's been standing up for a strong, independent ABC.
I forgot my
since
lines.
1976.
So I had to repost.
They campaign, inform, and advocate to make sure the ABC stays well-funded, free from political influence, and accessible to all Australians. The goal is simple: keep the ABC fearless, independent, and valued by everyone. Is that something you're more interested in learning about?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Oh my God, yeah!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Caleb. A little bit of humour can never fail, I think, and I must say that I'll be definitely seeking out some of your shows and coming to see them. It's great. As a long-form storyteller, I'm a little bit worried about the low level of attention spans, but I guess we have to address the reality we face today. I hope that people will get older and come to value books and the longer form of visual storytelling. But I think what you're doing is fabulous. Okay, now to our final speaker, Darcy Cox. Darcy's area of interest is in documentary filmmaking. He's an impressive all-rounder with skills across all aspects of the industry, from the visual storytelling, including directing, cinematography, editing and music and sound design, right through to the nuts and bolts of production, the boring bits, such as scheduling, location scouting, and many organisational aspects of making a film. Darcy already has some industry experience, and today we're going to see some of that in relation to his internship. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to pass it over to Darcy. Please welcome Darcy Cox.
Thank you, Helen. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this meeting. In a moment, I'll be screening my short documentary, as I'm an aspiring documentary producer and research assistant. Our ABC, The Fabric of Community, is a short documentary designed to foreground one essential idea: that Australia's public broadcaster is a cornerstone of community life, and its future depends on meaningful, sustained government funding. To explore this, I structured the film around one single core question: why should the ABC receive increased government funding? And as a result, I captured responses from ABC Friends members to show the breadth and sincerity of public support. These interviews were designed to complement the observational footage and provide a rounded, human-centred perspective on why the ABC matters. Participants were asked variations of the core question: with follow-up prompts about community connection and public trust. Their voices form the emotional background of the film, reinforcing that the ABC's value is not abstract, it's lived every day by Australians. The documentary's larger aim is to demonstrate that protecting the ABC is not simply a political issue, but a communal one, and that complacency will lead to the ABC's demise. This is directed, produced, filmed, edited, and narrated by myself, Darcy Cox. I hope you enjoy.
Challenge themselves regularly on their impartiality, the breadth of subjects they cover, and some of the subjects they dare to cover. It has shows, and I think the ABC is really important, and ought to be important to all Australians, because it provides us with an essential news service, which isn't changed by corporate interests. It's absolutely critical for everybody here to have a totally trusted voice. It is the cornerstone of our democracy. I view it as a national treasure because the power of government to account. It's not afraid to take on the big end of town, whether it is the that's also a good thing. I think the spread of its portfolio is remarkable.
So we're coming out to the emergency, which is to the ABC station. There are emergency signs all around Australia. Emergencies turning into the local ABC radio stations. No other media organisation offers the same service. So the ABC saves lives.
excellent film, and there was a lot of work went into that, I can see. Very, very nicely structured. I love the way you seamlessly went through the various issues, and it just flowed so seamlessly. Congratulations. And I have to say, one thing you're absolutely right about, as I've referred to a little earlier, is that we can't afford to be complacent. The perils of that are very clear. Terrific. Janine, do we have time? Well, actually, before I say that, I'd really like to comment that, we've had a marvellous presentation from all four of you. I really thank you for that, and I feel certain that we'll be hearing a lot more of all of you as your professional careers develop. So please join me in thanking Azura, Arwa, Caleb and Darcy. Janine, do we have time for any questions? Yes, we have time. Okay, well, if there's anything that you'd like to ask any or all of our interns, please just raise your hand, and I will ask you if you could give your name and keep your questions short and to the point. Please.
Florence Bell. Is it possible for these young people to go around to the schools? Because I think if we speak to the students in the school, they'll know and teach them what the ABC is. Teach the students, children, the school. And from then you might get a reaction and more might come. Be aware of the ABC.
What a fabulous idea. Yeah, thank you. How do you feel about doing that? Perhaps we'll...
50.
Who'd like to speak? I don't want to be... Yeah.
So it really depends on what kind of school specifically. Like if I were to step into, for example, like a university, like in my cohort, like they would know exactly what the ABC is because they're media students and that's what they know. But really, if you're thinking about maybe like primary school students, the best way probably is to show them programs from the ABC, which luckily they kind of know. Louis is one of the most popular shows online right now. So that's a good start, but you do really want to, I think that probably like high school students are probably the best aim because like they kind of take it for granted. I don't think they understand that the ABC is such a gift. I think that Tess Howe described it as like a gift to us young people and to everybody because it's an important part of our learning and our development and how we see ourselves as Australians. So I think that's a great idea. I think that the best way to do it would probably be targeting high school students, but I don't know what you specifically had in mind, so yeah, that's my response.
Thanks, Azura, and of course we do have Behind the News. Were you familiar with Behind the News during? Yeah, so there is some, but there may well be some merit in thinking about that idea further.
No, I wanted to say something.
Yes?
So I think that's a brilliant idea, especially because we just had the under-16 bans for social media.
Oh, yeah.
So it's harder to reach under-16s online. So I think going to schools would be the best idea, especially because we all grew up with BTN and other ABC programs. I think I grew up with ABC 3, it's referred to ABC New now. But I think we need to connect with these kids using childhood shows.
Would anyone else like to address it, or we can move on? Yeah, I'd like to just add that one thing I do like about your idea is that people do respond to people in person. I don't think you can ever replace that with online or anything. I think the in-person knowing somebody is very powerful. Any other questions, please? Over there.
My name's Jeffrey Knox. I've got a general question about the social media ban that came into place this week, and whether that's created the opportunity for the ABC to fill that void that could exist in the lives of teenagers and children under 16.
children everywhere suddenly do not have this element of like, okay, well, I'll move on to the next, like, a few programs. The thing is that ABC is free. It's everywhere. And children who cannot afford programming such as like Foxtel, that sort of thing, they will turn to ABC3 because they are so used to YouTube. They are so used to Roblox, these programs that, these applications that will just no longer be available. And I think that's a really good opportunity, but I think that it's going to depend on the type of programming that will engage them. So I think we're already seeing like the impact of it. I read a Guardian article that was saying that a lot of children are starting to engage more with public broadcasting. So yeah, it's amazing.
I do feel as though there's a gap. So there's a lot of targeted programs towards younger kids, but when it comes to teenagers and that in-between stage, unfortunately there's not a lot of content that's directed towards them specifically. So I think because of this social media ban, there is a gap where a new channel could be put in that's a bit more directed and skewed towards young adults. I just feel like that's the route that it should take.
Can I ask a question there? How would you access a new channel through online or through a TV?
You could definitely do it just through ABC iView.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could be a good way rather than going through the complicated nature of adding a new channel, and I know that there's so much background work that has to be done for that, so I think just an ABC iView program would be perfect. I think that would do the job.
Yes, one of the reasons I asked the question is we're always being told that young people don't watch television, that everything's online.
I'm an avid ABC iView watcher.
Yeah. Well,
My dad can confirm. He hears me late at night.
The four of you are so full of ideas. There was another question that there's quite a few. Okay. So yes, please, if you could.
My name's Deborah Gray.
Thanks.
And I was just wanting to know from your perspective, how good, we know Bluey is fantastic. You know, every young kid is connected to Bluey. I'm not sure what comes after Bluey, but I know of BTN, or Behind the News is shortened to BTN. I remember it as being really quite useful, helpful, and I was teaching overseas students, so I could often use it in the classroom to connect overseas students with what's happening worldwide and in Australia. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, how good is it now? Do you think that Behind the News is actually working to connect young people? Is it effective? Just wondering your perspective on that.
I don't think it's working that well.
Yeah.
But is there anyone else who wants to add to that?
Does anyone watch it? Yeah, I don't think any of us really watches Behind the News anymore, but I did grow up with it a lot in school. They would put it on rainy days, or just we'd have like a little section where we'd just watch it. And with what comes after next with Bluey, what I grew up with, I think this was 2014 to 2016, we grew up with tween shows like Nowhere Boys or Dance Academy that really connected with the tween age. It was somewhere between 12 to 14. So I think if, because that there's this gap, if the ABC pushes programs like that further, I think that's how you get to connect with the under 16s who don't have access to social media anymore.
I also just want to add that the ABC has always kind of done exceedingly well with younger age groups in general, from play school to Bluey to the Wiggles, like the Showcase telling stories, but also showcases some of the biggest like stories from the BBC, like Peppa Pig is a really good example, and having just that like little understanding with the ABC from a young age really kind of ties the viewer to continue to support the ABC as they go older. You just really want to be able to support them as they grow. So yeah.
My generation, of course, was hooked to Countdown, which used to be, if I recall correctly, 6 o'clock on Saturday before you went out. And I wonder whether the ABC should be looking at something like that, because rage late at night doesn't really cut it. Next question, I think the gentleman over there was next.
My name is Chris Fieldhouse. I'm asking our documentary maker, what does he think of Race Around the World, and is he going to enter?
I have already entered in it. I think it's a great experience for young filmmakers such as myself. We get an option to go and travel the world whilst also doing what we love, creating documentaries, and we get some great experience that will forever keep us in the industry and make a lot of connections as well. So honestly, it's an invaluable experience. But fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
We certainly had a lot of very good filmmakers come out of the original race around the world, particularly, you know, people like Olivier Rousseau, who's just a brilliant filmmaker. My only concern about that at the moment is the volatile state of the world, and I just hope these kids are going to be safe. But I guess a lot of filmmaking is risk-taking. Okay, anyone else? The lady up there.
My name's Paula Morrow. The only programs I've offered my teenage grandchildren, 15-year-old boy and 12-year-old girl separately, when I got the chance, was Mythbusters. And it did get them in. Maybe we could use that sort of sceptical look at theories and ideas from around the world. So important now to look at maybe social issues or different forms of government or climate change. All these things, and get fabulous actors and crew and ideas like that. So it's very active, isn't it? It's very engaging.
I definitely think you could do like a nature documentary that is more like entertainment heavy, but also gets the message through, like climate change. Could talk about the Amazon rainforest at the moment, dredging, big problems, but also kind of make it skewed towards kids because their attention span is kind of quick. You got to be like move from one thing and kind of have like a little bit of a, I don't know how you put a happy spin on it, but it's got to be a little bit positive and all. I mean, basically, probably just start from something negative and then be like, oh, this is how we get out of this, because our younger generations are definitely going to have to work that out, including us. And then in terms of Mythbusters and science shows, I definitely think that's quite important because they're educational, but then they're also fun. Got explosives happening. What kid's not going to love that?
Thank you. I think Azura wants to comment.
I just wanted to say that one of the biggest strengths of the ABC is being able to challenge previous beliefs. One of my favorite shows at the moment is Content Watch, is that what it's called? No, Media Watch, sorry. Media Watch, because it's able to kind of challenge what we see online. And having a program like that that's more aimed at younger people, I think really is great. But I can think of so many programs on the ABC that challenge initial beliefs. For example, I don't know if you guys know The Checkout. Do you guys know? That one was one of the best and most entertaining shows, and of course it was like torn apart by commercialization because they go against the ideas that people are, trying to promote. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that we need more shows like that. Backyard Science is also similar, but yeah, I think that Mythbusters works so well because it's entertaining but also informative. So if we get that balance, I think we can create some really great programs.
Some really good points there, and you know, the ABC at its best is doing programs that the commercials won't do. So it plays right into what they should be doing. And I might say what I think the current chair and MD are looking for, thankfully. Any other questions, please? Down the back there. I'll come to you next.
Yeah, exactly what you guys were all saying. I mean, I've worked decades in sales, and I think for the ABC to have such a strong base with young kids, but then to let their customers in a way just flounder and off they go, because there's not enough in the middle there. So I think things like Triple J are a great resource. I think things like HAT could be modified to suit a younger audience, because it's not really age appropriate, some of the stuff they talk about. But where does a switched on younger person now go if they want to be questioning worldviews or things like that? And I feel like this is a perfect, maybe the ABC's onto it already, Janine, but pitching for additional funding to fill that gap there that is desperately needed, and it's needed now, but I think the work can start now. But I think there are resources there that can be utilised, and even when you're talking about the environment, I heard a great little thing on the radio, ABC funded that yesterday, about the Taronga Zoo, the 3,000 hectares that have just been acquired up near Bingra. And I think that as your positive thing of, well, this, and this is happening, but hey, did you know? And it's all going to cost money, isn't it? But anyway, like I said, suggestion rather than question.
With what you've just said and with what our 4 interns have said, I think that idea of a campaign for funding for youth teenage programming is actually brilliant, because the general campaigns don't do quite as well as when we campaign for specifics. Like international is another area, but there's a bleeding sore here for young people and information. I think it's. What do you guys think?
Well, there was a quick question in there that I just was wondering. Like, the one question that really stood out to me was just, where does a young person go to be able to get information about political stuff? And I think that the internet is the answer. They go to YouTube, they talk to their peers a little bit, I think, but the problem with that is that there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of disinformation, misinformation. I think that the ABC is in a unique position to be able to give their best information that's accurate and show resources and stuff, and that's one of the biggest strengths of broadcasting, I think.
Just on the topic of hack, I have been thinking that it would be extremely good for my generation especially, not just teens, because I know some of it's not as age appropriate, but if they made a documentary or a show out of it, like Arwa said, people are more receptive to seeing something than just hearing it. And I feel like visuals can add so much to the experience of hearing the story. Then you see what it looks like, and then you can see these people and their testimonials. I think hack would be a great way to appeal to our generation. A hack documentary could be by me.
There's something very attractive about a program that perhaps takes some of the misinformation and true or false and turns it on its head, and I think it appears. I think, have we time for any more, or we've done? Oh, thank you. I just have a couple. Just one more.
I just wanted to extend that the thing about content, and you have mentioned audio here. Podcasting, I know I present data when I did my presentation here about just how broad-ranging podcasting is, how popular it is. Do you think, and I've noticed my students coming into first year are all across true crime podcasts, so it's a real go-to for younger audiences, for sort of late teen audiences. Are podcasts at all a medium that tween to teen audiences are using? Because if so, it's so much cheaper to produce. I'm listening to all these great ideas and thinking there's no money to produce the visual stuff, but podcasts are a great source of IP that can then get turned into something. So what are your thoughts on podcasts?
I definitely agree. Podcasting is definitely something that teens are interested in. There's a specific podcast that has
gone viral on social media because it's just this group of 20-something-year-old friends. They sit around this guy's like kitchen and they just talk. It's called Suburb Talks, and it just went completely viral. And it started out with like low production, and once it gained viewership, it's now high production. They have better mics, and even they record it and they even post it on YouTube. They have it on Spotify. So I think podcasting is a great idea, and it's very accessible and it's cheaper.
Thank you everyone for your questions. And we've got one more.
Just the thing about podcasts is it has to be different. Yeah. And there's so many podcasts that it's sometimes hard to make it stand out of the thousands upon millions of podcasts that are out there. But I think if you got
ABC can do a bit of making something special.
Yeah, I'm sure they can.
Azura had a comment.
I'll be very fast on this. The thing about podcasting is also that people kind of expect visuals as well. That's the thing with podcasting is that they kind of put it on YouTube, and oftentimes you can do the visuals, but you can also do the audio at the same time. But there's like two types of podcasts, I think. There's the one where you're kind of just rambling for a long time and it's unedited, and then there's pre-planned podcasts, like for example, like NPR, like a lot of This American Life, that sort of thing. I don't know many tweens who listen to podcasting unless it's maybe a very entertaining show, but I haven't I work with kids on a daily basis, and I very rarely hear them being like, okay, well, I've been listening to this podcast. Yeah, but it's definitely a very good resource to have. Like, people do need that.
Okay, yeah, I'd just like to say thank you again to our interns, and also to Janine Kitson and Dr. Catherine Farger of Macquarie University, who created the internships. I'd also like to generally acknowledge and thank Janine and all the members of this branch. I think Northern Suburbs is undoubtedly the most active, but also the most innovative ABC Friends branch, and I can see how much so many of you contribute in very practical ways. So thank you again, everyone, for inviting me here. It was a great pleasure to hear from all of you. And now I'll hand back to Janine for the, I think, eagerly anticipated raffle draw.
Yeah. But before we do, we have to thank Helen, because she is our guest, and we have a presentation for you, and thank you so much, Helen.